Welcome to FCBN.TV. This is Prophet Evangelist Scott David Shute, and I just want to thank you for allowing me the opportunity of being able to share with you just a little bit of my life story and my relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ. Probably one of the most significant events that's ever taken place in my life, and there's been a lot of supernatural significant events that have taken place in my life, but without a doubt the story that I'm going to tell you is one of the most profound things personally that's ever happened to me. God is a debtor to no man. If we love Him with all the passion in our heart and are willing to pay any price to know Him, I promise you, He is a debtor to no man. The event that I'm going to tell you about took place many years ago now. I had, at that time, been asked to lead a team of young evangelists into the jungles on the island of Kauai in Hawaii, back up into the Hanakapiai coast, the trails up there where it takes days just to hike in, 3-foot wide paths, a lot of times washed out, where there's no path at all, thousands of feet above the ocean, straight down and far below. I had accompanying me a young group of evangelists that were in training, and it was our intent to hike 2-3 days into the jungle and reach the people that had thrown off all of society and gone to live in the jungle. We didn't have very much money. In fact, the provisions that we had were nothing more than tents. Very cheap, inexpensive tents. So inexpensive they didn't have floors in them. And we were going into the second wettest place in the world, next to Cherrapunji, India, where it rains 40 feet a year. What is that? Over 50 meters a year. Right at the base of Mount Wili Wili on the island of Kauai. You see, the thing that makes this trip so distinguished is the fact that I had been told by doctors only a few days before, who had examined my second son because he had a jaundice that would not go away. They gave him back to me. After their inspection, he was cut from one side of his belly to the other side. And they told me that he had biliary hypoplasia, and that no man, no woman, no child, no one had ever lived past the age of 7. There was no surgical procedure, there was no medication, there was nothing they could do. Hearing those words are some of the most difficult words for any father to ever hear. In life. And they resounded much deeper in my being, because just a few short years before I had to return from my efforts in Holland, where I moved as a young evangelist to start a work and smuggle Bibles into Russia. I had to return as my first son was born in Holland, and he was born with terminal conditions that eventually took his life. So here I was just a few short years later hearing exactly the same edict. At first I decided to cancel the trip. I thought it was just too much. How could anybody go after hearing something like that? But then a rage rose in my heart. A rage against hell itself. And I said, I'm going regardless. We jumped off, and I think most people were pretty excited about the trip, places we were going. But for me, it was like carrying a huge stone for a long, long way. We got to the island of Kauai and went north up to the bottom of the Hanakapiai Trail, and I bedded my team down, made sure that they were all tented in and out of the elements. And because I was the leader, I had my own tent. Not much of accommodations, but at least I had the freedom to be alone. I remember it so vividly. I put out the mat, put up my sleeping bag, and laid down. And I started to talk to my father. I said, Father, I have no accusations for you. I have no anger for you. You didn't cause this. I said, I just want to know one thing. Why? Your word says, in all you're getting is get understanding. And I just have to have understanding so that I can go on. I said, I've served you for so many years. I've never asked very much of you. But I just ask you to tell me why. What happened then, the pain that was in my heart grew to such a dimension that if it would have continued for very much longer, my heart would have exploded inside of my chest. It was not only spiritual and emotional, it was physical. My heart was breaking beyond any conceivable measure of being able to live through. I remember clutching my chest with my arms, wrapping my arms around my own chest, trying to hold the pain in. And I just said, Father, why? I love you so much. I'll pay any price. I want nothing out of this. Just to put a smile on your face. And for a brief amount of time, it was as though God pulled back the very curtain, the very veil between His kingdom and the kingdom that I live in. He pulled it back. I could taste His breath. He was that close. And He answered me. He said, son, He said, the reason why I allowed these circumstances is because you asked to know who I am. He said, son, the pain that you feel in your heart right now, he said, that is the same pain that I feel right now. He said, son, you feel the pain right now because you're losing your son. But you will have your son for eternity. But I am losing countless millions that I love infinitely more than you love your son. I'm losing them forever. Now you know who I am. And now you know why I allowed it. Christian, if God's allowed you to go through testing and trials, more extreme than anything you could dream that He'd ever put on you or allow you to go through, remember this story. He's there with you. He's there in it with you. And whether or not you get the answer of healing. I remember the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego before they threw them in the fiery furnace. Their declaration was, whether God saves us or not is of little significance to us. We're not bowing. End of story. But how many do you know that history will record forever that ever danced in the middle of the most ferocious fire that Satan could throw at men? Yes, my son eventually died. And so did my third son die. But Christian, once you face fire, once the fire of God burns off the dross in your life, the impure motives for serving Him, the what you can get out of it motives, once those are burned off, you don't have to worry about it again. Every man's going to face the fire of God. And everything in his life is going to stand the test of that fire. But if what's in his heart remains after the fire, there will be gold and silver, precious stones. But if all the motives are wrong, there's too much self in the way, and it's burned off, it's just wood, hay, and stubble. It's better to allow it to be burned off now than later. No, Christian, I am victorious. I am the victor. I pray this story will minister to you. If you don't know Him, I pray it'll encourage you to want to know Him. And if you do know Him and you've quit, you've gotten discouraged, I pray this will rekindle the fire in your heart to serve the Lord Jesus Christ with every drop of strength you have. So God bless you if you're walking with Him.